The movement. Good afternoon, makers. We are back for our final live stream of the day with a man who needs no introduction.
I'll introduce
Only
myself.
kidding, Kenny.
I'm kidding.
So we have Kenny from Kenny Cosplay. He's a cosplayer extraordinaire, and he's going to take you through how to make some
Weapons.
cosplay weapons. But yeah, so Kenny, I will step out of it if you'd like to introduce yourself and get going.
Yeah, I'm Kenny from Kenny Cosplay Stuff. Stuff because I make stuff. That's pretty much it. So today I am going to show you how to make a foam dagger. Emphasis on foam because it's very safe and I don't want to be liable. So basically, we'll go from this to something like this. So I guess a very simple stick of foam that looks like a weapon, to a little bit of more decoration to this, and eventually, probably not today because I don't have any paint on me, to something like this. Now, very wobbly and safe, so you can't really stab anyone with it. I don't want to be liable. Anyways, so to start off, the process is extremely simple. All you really need is one of these, maybe one of these, some non-branded glue, and a box cutter, which I have lost. It should be by the sink, thanks. Oh no, I found it. It's in the drawer. I came prepared. So, I have pre-cut some foam just to save a little bit of time, and the first step, I suppose, it's to glue it together. Oh, I've locked the drawer. No, it's opened. It's opened. I'm looking for more foam to apply glue to some foam. I like foam. So basically, you don't really need a brush for this. You just use a scrap piece of foam, make it look like a brush, and discard some waste. And first of all, you need to make what they call a blank. So that's pretty much a template, so you can draw on, and it would be the base of your weapon. So this technique you can use to make a dagger or an axe. The technique's actually quite similar. So just dab a bit of glue on, make sure you're in a well-ventilated area, and if you're not, probably don't spread glue indoors like in your bedroom, because this is quite toxic, so I don't really want to be breathing too much of this in. So only a thin layer. I'll just spread it with a little bit of scrap foam. So this is contact adhesive. That means you have to apply it on both sides evenly. If you have clumps, try and get rid of it as much as you can, because they will dry unevenly and you'll have a not very nice finish. While I'm waiting for this piece to dry, I'm going to put the rod in the middle. Inserting my rod right here. So basically just cut a channel so there's, I can sit right in here. So it doesn't make a bump in the middle. So it goes right in here and it should just fit. So next, continue making my blank. Spreading some glue on here nice and evenly. I do like a good spread sometimes. Anyways, right, not too much glue again. Make sure the glue is completely dry to touch before you start putting the pieces together, otherwise it won't stick. So just using the side of this piece of foam to just smooth it all the way out. And notice every corner is covered, including right along the edges. Otherwise, you'll have bits flying off. So in short, glue only sticks to glue. If you don't have glue on something, it's not going to stick. And I shall show that to you in a moment. Once you finish with the glue, cover it back up so you don't inhale more fumes and get high. So while we're waiting for this to dry, this is literally a stream of watching things dry, to be honest. In fact, I have a better idea. Here's one I made earlier. So as you can see, just to demonstrate, this piece is pretty much dry. It's got some tacky bits on the sides, but we don't really care. It doesn't stick if it doesn't have glue on it, but if it does have glue on it, it should stick and be very difficult to peel apart. So as you can see here, instantly stuck, and it's very difficult to peel apart. Once you've got this stuck, basically make a little paddle-like thing. Oops, I didn't cut the channel wide enough, so it's a bit of a jam. You could lube it up with some glue so it's easier to slide in. But here is one thing I made earlier. This is a template for an axe, and I have drawn a template. So just to make it a bit clearer, I'm going to go over this with some orange pen. So this is to basically draw the shape you want to cut out with a little bit of detail. We don't have to worry about details too much yet. So this is the basic shape, and I'm going to cut this out. So this is half cut because I came half prepared. So easy peasy, straight lines and straight lines. Cut the template out. Oops. And now we have an axe shape. Simple enough. And now we have to transfer it onto the piece of foam. Oh, I kind of misshaped the template here. Better fix that with some improvisation. That will do. This is an axe with a blunt top side, because why not? So the design's completely up to you. You can make something that's already exists, or you can just kind of make it up as you go along, which is what I'm doing. So once you've traced onto the foam, this is the fun and interesting part. Trace it on here, nearly there.
Kenny, sorry to interrupt, but for a lot of our Dremel users, cosplay they're not going to be familiar with. Can you just tell us, what is it? What is cosplay, and how did you get into it?
Cosplay, by definition, is costume and, I guess, play of some sort. People dress up and they play. Cosplay. Did that answer the question? Basically, we dress up in fantasy weapons. Some people do LARP in it, which is where I learned this from. So Artifacts gave me a training that is basically making LARP weapons. But cosplay, you can use cheaper materials, for example, wooden dowel instead of a fiberglass rod, because you're not going to be hitting people with it, and it's not going to really snap. It's fairly robust foam. So as you can see here, we can bend it. It's not going to crack. And this is basically a fiberglass rod, a stronger version of this wooden dowel. So yeah, foam is safe for a lot of events, because a lot of events currently now is having more tighter restriction on weapons, because our American friends kind of ruined it for all of us. Anyways, the first thing you need is a sharp blade. I can't emphasize this enough. A sharp blade will help you go a long way, because it creates such a nice clean cut. As opposed to having to saw the foam. A lot of times people say you need to cut the foam, but it's more like you need to slice the foam, if that makes sense. So what I do is I extend just the normal box cutter all the way. Mind your fingers, and you should have a very nice cut like this, all the way through without sawing. Nearly all the way through. Break it apart, and if you rip it, you're going to get this uneven edge. We're just going to clean it off, and you can also Dremel this. A nice edge gives you a better surface to work on. So this bit here, just one big slice, nice and clean off. And on the other side, again, easy peasy, one slice, very little effort. Let's clear the work surface. We don't need this anymore. We might need that. If you do have any questions, do ask them, otherwise I'll be monologuing the entire time. So some of the harder to get into edges, ooh, that's not supposed to come off. Let's put it back in. I think this has got a mechanism where you can change blades really easily. So if you extend it too much, the blade is just going to slide out. Ugh, how do I get this back in? There we go. Right, where was I? Just cutting this bit in here. And if you have a difficult corner, you can always use a scalpel. But this is a bit too thick, so I'm just going to rip it off. Like I said, not to do, but it's all right. We have Dremel to save the day. And we'll clean the inside out quite easily. There we go. So we have a basic axe shape. I just have to do this little hole in here, and the axe is looking pretty okay, I think. Ooh, came out again. Don't like this blade. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, just get all the way through. You can use different thickness of foam. I'm just going to grab another blade. Would you mind grabbing my yellow one from inside the box, please? Thanks. So, just going to get this one out. I'm doing what I said not to do, just sawing it, because why not? We'll use the Dremel just to fix all our mistakes. Yeah, that is the one, thank you very much. This one doesn't slide out. So same idea, there we go. Get the inside bits out, and hopefully we'll have a nice X shape.
Kenny, what kind of foam are you using?
I'm using what people call EVA foam, but it's technically not pure EVA. It's just, you can use any foam really. This one I got from Polyprops, which is a UK shop. You can use floor mats from like puzzle, you know, the puzzle gym mats you can use, but they do have a weird pattern on the end, so I'm not a big fan of that. Just any sort of foam. I started off with using camping mats. They got quite expensive because camping equipment is always overpriced, but yeah, the cosplay material is getting more accessible now, so it's a lot cheaper to make, to buy really. All right, let's get the foam out.
And do you always use templates, or do you sometimes go at them freehand as well?
It depends what's available really. A lot of the times when you Google something that you want to make, for example, a Halo costume, someone's already made that before, so a lot of free templates are available online, but if you don't have it, you're just gonna have to freehand it, like pretty much this axe. It doesn't actually matter if it's not completely accurate, because at the end of the day, no one's gonna judge your work more than you judge yourself, and people are probably not gonna notice it. So I'm just gonna rip this bit off, and we have an axe shape. But this axe is pretty blunt, so we're just gonna sharpen the edges. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a pen and use my finger, you know, the 3-finger rule, just one finger here and the other two to grab onto your pen to make a nice line around the edge of the axe. So all the way around on both sides. So that just basically gives you a guide as to where to cut, because there's nothing worse than a blunt axe. So for stuff I can't really get my fingers into, I'm just gonna just draw around, and again on the other side, just one finger to guide the pen round, oops, all the way around on both sides of the foam. And also down the middle as well. So we know where to stop cutting. So, ooh, this pen's kind of going, but that's all right. Make a groove in here. Never mind, I'll just wing it. Oh, I got another pen, so that's all right. There you go, nice and bright orange on a very dark background. Hopefully you can see this. Right, now, as I said before, keep changing your blades because blunt blades will make a jaggery edge, and it will take a lot more finishing to get it clean. So just starting here. People say cut away from you. It's kind of difficult with foam. So keep your fingers away and just gently slice the foam all the way. One cut, not much effort. So in here, all the way around. Just one nice cut to the end. And you can see a very nice beveled edge. And now we turn it around, exactly the same. Watch your fingers, get them well far away. It helps if you move your body as well when you're slicing, so your elbow's locked, and you have one motion all the way through. I will show you what not to do, because I guess it's important to know what's better, I suppose. As you can see here, one slice gives a very clean edge, very little finishing that you need to do. But this one, I'm going to slice with a blunt blade, which I don't have on me. So if I start slicing it like this, yes, it does cut it, but it's very difficult to get a straight line. And as you can see, this is going to require a lot more finishing. So this one, I'm just going to slice nice and easy all the way through, on the other side as well. So this is the same technique as you would use with a sword, but with an axe, you get to practice straight lines as well as curved lines. So all the way through. As you can see, another beveled edge, and probably this one here too. Just moving my body. That's not done, and then two more to go, and we'll have something nice and easy. So, just to clean up the edges, I shall put some PPE on, because everyone loves to be safe, and I don't want to breathe in foam dust, because foam dust is quite bad on the lungs. In fact, anything that's not, air is pretty bad for the lungs, really. These gloves are tight. It fits like a glove indeed. So, just going to tidy up all the edges, get right in here, because, I forgot to trim this. So what I would recommend is trim as much as you can before you start dremeling, because that just creates a lot less dust for you to tidy up. Now I got big chunks, and I can just pick them up as opposed to having to hoover. Ooh, exciting. So just holding it down so so it's not so wobbly. We're gonna just tidy up the edges. What you can do as well is try and get a ruler to get the straight lines, but holding your hand here should help as well. So just tidying up all these curves. And this is one of the edges I didn't cut down. As you can see, it creates a lot more dust and foam mess, and it takes quite a lot longer. See how long and boring this is. So it's definitely better to cut it. So before I go any further, what I'm going to do is put some decoration. So with foam, it's really good that, to do it in layers, because it looks more intricate when things look more 3D as opposed to flat. So I'm just going to decorate the base layer of this before layering a piece, a foam, I guess, top on to make it look more interesting, I suppose. So this is really good for battle damage, the soldering iron with a, I guess, hot knife tip. You can dig right into it, and it's going to just burn through the foam. And make sure, this is definitely a must, you must wear some sort of mask or be outside so you don't inhale the foam fumes, because I think it's quite bad for you, but I don't know how bad. But don't find out. Anyways, this should be hot enough now. So I'm just going to make some patterns on here. As you can see, some, I don't know, be creative with your patterns, or if you have something to copy, you can copy that. So I guess make some tentacles here, because why not? I don't actually know what I should be making. I'm just doing happy little lines. In the famous words of Bob Ross, there are no accidents, just, I don't know what he said. I can't even quote him. So maybe some decoration lines in here. And that goes right up to the edge. That will do for now. And then we're just going to build this up in layers. Where's my knife? There's my knife. It's easier to do this with a knife than scissors, actually.
Kenny, you had a question from Caitlin. What fitting were you using on the Dremel when you were doing the shaping?
I'm using one of the drum tips, and the higher grit it is, the smoother your foam is going to turn out. And it also depends on the density of your foam as well. The denser it is, the smoother finish you have. If it's a little bit bumpy because you have a low grit tip, what you can do is change this to a I guess the flame tip, whatever that's called, the heat tip, and just blow the heat over the foam and it should contract and give you a smoother finish as well. So this one, I believe it's 120 grit, but the one at home, it's definitely more than that because I haven't changed my drum for like 2 years now, and it's pretty smooth and it gives this foam quite a nice finish. So right now, I'm gonna grab a thinner piece of foam. This is 2 millimeters. I'm just going to draw the shape on, so we create that 3D effect, and we'll Dremel it down afterwards. So let's get a pen that actually works, which is this one here. You're going to have to do this both sides, but I'm just going to do it for one to save time because, yeah, you don't need to watch me do the same thing twice. So just drawing the shape in here, and then I'm going to, I guess, cut this out.
Kenny, when coming up with your designs, do you tend to make your own designs and your own stuff, or do you follow anything in particular?
I'm not very good at being creative, so what I do is I find a character that I like, and I basically just copy the costume or whatever they're wearing, break it down so it's kind of like easier shapes, easier manageable shapes. I guess a lot of the times people ask, oh no, this costume's so complicated, where do you even get started? Just basically pick an area, for example, a chest piece or an arm guard or something like that, and just breaking it down to simple like triangles, circles. Oh, there's a half triangle here and then a circle that lays on top of that. Break it down to smaller shapes and you won't be overwhelmed so much. So yeah, I'm not very creative, so I can copy what I can see, but I can't really make my own design, which is, I guess, good and bad. At least I can make something that's recognizable, I suppose, or recognizable to a very niche audience. So here is the shape. What I'm going to do is, ooh, I missed a bit. So get the shape on top of here, and exactly the same as before. Get a scrap piece of foam. I'm going to cut this bit off because I don't want old glue on it. Get both sides on evenly, so nice and smooth for a nicer and easier finish. If your glue stains go over the bit that you want, it doesn't matter too much because glue actually dries flat, if you apply it flat, that is. If not, you can always use like contact adhesive remover or white spirit just to get it off. Again, don't do it in your bedroom because it's bad for you. So glue on both sides, otherwise it won't actually stick. Now that we're waiting for glue to dry again, we can do something else, which is basically we can get started with the handle of the axe. So for this, we just grab another piece of foam that is obviously pre-cut. And what we're going to do is just going to wrap this round and guesstimate. It's probably going to be about here. I'm going to make a mark here. I would definitely get a ruler for this because you can't really get a straight line without using a ruler, but I can try. This is good enough, I suppose. So I cut it in an angle. So basically what happens is if I wrap it round, it's gonna stick to itself a little bit better like this. So I just need to cut the other side. So it's also in an angle. You can put some glue on here and start wrapping it together. But what you can also do is get some electrical tape. I think this glue's pretty much dry now, so it's not tacky. It's completely dry to touch. Now, or it's not going to stick to anything that's not got, oh, this has got glue on it, so it's stuck to that. So let's place it on here. Make it look a bit more 3D. Oops, I made it a bit too big. So let's just kind of, foam's a bit flexible, so with mistakes, things being too big, it doesn't matter too much. So as you can see here, it's quite messy, but you can clean this up quite easily. So whilst this is on here, we're gonna just wait for it to dry a little bit more thoroughly. So we'll just do the handle and then come back to it in a moment with a Dremel. You can use whatever tape you want. We're just gonna wrap it round, and this is the boring bit. Oh, maybe I should have put glue on it, just so it can stick together better. And I think I cut this a bit too small, but that doesn't matter. The tape will hide your mistakes. I wish it could hide my life. My life is a mistake. Not really. That was a joke. Please don't sue me. Right, I'll continue wrapping this. This is probably the most boring bit to watch next to waiting for paint to dry. I did a stream once actually where I literally painted one thing and waited for it to dry for 2 hours and people stayed, I don't know why. Quite literally watching paint dry. Oh, I'm gonna get some finger muscles by the end of this. Squeezing this little bit of foam is hard work. I wish I made a shorter handle as well, so I'd have to keep wrapping. Oh, nearly there. That'll do. Given up. Okay, right. Let's tidy the top bit up. So we're just gonna cut the excess foam down as much as we can. In hindsight, instead of beveling this at the start, what I could have done is just do all the layers first, which requires pre-planning. Obviously, I'm not very good at that. And then cut it all in one go so we don't have to tidy up after ourselves. So in here, bevel it, saw in it, doesn't matter too much. And then we're just gonna, oh, this bit, that will do. And to tidy it all up, this will take quite a lot of time actually. Oh, okay. I'll do this real quick then. Basically, tidy the edges up. Ooh. That's coming off. Whoops. Bit lower speed. Just ripping that off before I Dremel this down. Hopefully it'll go down to the bit where I glued it down so it won't start flopping up. Oh, more gloves. It's raining gloves today. And eventually, if you spend enough time dremeling, you'll get something like this. Here's one I did earlier. So again, this wasn't all Dremel. This was the bigger pieces to get the middle edge. Use the belt sander, but all these little rounded edges, all with the Dremel, just to add more detail to, I guess, the whole thing really. And this thing at the end, it's a block of foam with a hole Dremeled out in the middle, and then just shaved down, kind of like carving with the Dremel really. Right, I think that's pretty much how to make a foam weapon in a very, very short amount of time. I hope that helped. Got any questions? No? Cool.
Thank you, Kenny. I didn't like my career anyway, so brilliant. Please wear gloves when you are doing any of this, and all PPE. Must reiterate that officially. Thank you for that. It's fine. If anyone has any questions about cosplay or how Dremel was used in cosplay, please feel free to contact Kenny at
Kenny Cosplay Stuff,
or contact us directly, and we can always field questions from that. That's it for our live streams today. The next workshop that our makers are going to be doing what Kenny's been doing, but wearing gloves. And well, I don't know about better, but we'll see. Keep an eye out for those. And sorry, it's not our last live stream. Our last live stream will be at 5. We'll be discussing with a few of us the maker community, creating content, things like this. So hopefully we'll see you at 5. And thank you for joining.